We did a special run-through of West Side just before the run-through for an uninvited audience from the theater.
An invited audience.
Yes.
Not an uninvited.
Uninvited audience. And Oscar was going away, so he couldn't do it. So we ran it for him, and the balcony scene was originally, what they sang on the balcony was One Hand, One Heart, believe it or not, a song of limited passion. And so he said, you know, that you'd really need something that soars there. So what we did was we took the quintet had been written, just before the Rumble, and Tonight is in there, and we decided to take Tonight out of the quintet and make it the basis of the balcony scene, and we expanded a little bit, and then used it as a reprise in the quintet, which worked very nicely. I can remember that specific piece of advice. And then he came down to Philadelphia to see Gypsy, and Arthur and I had a meal with him afterwards. And he said, I think it's wonderful, but there are 3 things that I would suggest you improve. One, and we eagerly listened, thinking about it. The first thing he said was, the doorknob on the kitchen set keeps falling off. That should be fixed. Yes, I thought that what we really need is smart ass, right, at this point. Because we knew something was not happening right with the show, we knew that. And he said, secondly, the scene where, in the Chinese restaurant, he said, you should end that with You'll Never Get Away From Me. You shouldn't. We had the song in the middle of the scene, and there was dialogue afterwards. He said, generally it's a good idea to end the scene with a song, particularly that kind of scene, which is comic and romantic, right? And then he said, and he looked at me and he said, you're gonna kill me for this, but you have to give a hand to Ethel Merman at the end of Rose's Turn. I had written a high violin harmonic, so that she would end screaming, for me, for me, for me, and you'd hear in the orchestra this, and dead silence, and then in the wings, you hear Louise clapping. And he said, you can't do that. He said, you have to put a beginning on it. I said, but she's having a nervous breakdown. You can't put a big, I said, everything you taught me. I got all worked up. He said, yeah, but the problem is there are things that happen in the theater that you got to take into account. And one of them is that the audience is waiting to applaud.